Thanks for staying with us. I'm Millicent Walker in Lagos. As the flames settle, one can see the destruction from Russian missiles after hitting electrical substations in the Ukrainian city of Lviv. People in the city are currently left without power and water. Here's more in this report.
The power station in Ukraine's western city of Lviv was damaged by an airstrike on Tuesday. Mayor of the city, Andriy Dovi, says the airstrikes on the power station cut off electricity in some districts and that water networks in his city, near the Polish border, across which flow Western arms supplies for Ukraine's military, were also damaged during the strikes. Russia has turned its heaviest firepower on Ukraine's east and south since failing to take Kyiv, the capital, in March. But it has also struck much further west in a drive to limit Ukraine's access to the Black Sea, vital for its grains and metal exports, and also to disrupt supplies of Western military aid to President Volodymyr Zelensky's force. Firefighters battled Tuesday night to put out the blaze. The explosions happened nearly 10 weeks into a war that has killed thousands, devastated cities, and driven 5 million Ukrainians to flee abroad. The city has been spared most of the fighting since the invasion of Ukraine. Lviv is hundreds of miles from Russia's advance, and it has been one of the main destinations for Ukrainians forced to flee battle zones. Ukraine's defense ministry says Russia is attempting to increase tempo of its offensive in the east of the country. The defense ministry spokesman gave few details but said Moscow had conducted nearly 50 airstrikes on Tuesday, May the 3rd alone. He also said Russian artillery fire and airstrikes were continuing periodically on the Azovstal steelworks in Mariupol, where the last Ukrainian defenders of the southern port city hold up. On Wednesday, Russia's defense ministry said it had disabled 6 railway stations in Ukraine used to supply Ukrainian forces with Western-made weapons in the country's east. The ministry said it had disabled the railway stations by bombing their power supplies using high-precision air and sea-based weapons. It did not say which Western-made weapons were supplied to Ukrainian forces via those stations. The ministry also said it had hit 40 Ukrainian military targets, including 4 depots storing ammunition and artillery weapons. It also published video footage of the cruise missiles being launched from the Black Sea and said they had hit unspecified ground targets in Ukraine. Meanwhile, a large fire engulfed an oil storage in the town of Makivka in the Donetsk region Wednesday morning. Russia-backed authorities in the area said the site had been the target of a missile strike by the Ukrainian military, but provided no evidence to support the claim. Russia, on the other hand, has reiterated a warning that it will seek to destroy convoys of arms shipments to Ukraine from Western countries, which in recent weeks have stepped up these supplies. The United States and its NATO allies are continuing to pump weapons into Ukraine, so says Russia's defense minister, and that any transport of the North Atlantic Alliance arriving on the territory of the country with weapons or materials destined to the Ukrainian army as a legitimate target will be destroyed.
One of Russia's television stations that could come under the latest EU sanctions, Gazprom Media's NTV, has reported today's European Commission President's proposal to phase out Russian oil. The media house suggested the approval of the proposal was by no means certain, and even if it is approved by the bloc, the ban on Russian oil will first and foremost harm consumers in Europe. Earlier today, the European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, proposed a phased oil embargo on Russia over its war in Ukraine, as well as sanctioning Russia's top bank and banning broadcasters from European airwaves in a bid to deepen Moscow's isolation. The plan, if agreed by EU governments, would mark a watershed for the world's largest trading bloc, which is dependent on Russian energy and must find alternative supplies. But Russia's invasion of Ukraine by land, sea and air February 24, the renewed offensive in eastern Ukraine and the horrific images of slaughter in Ukrainian towns have overcome reluctance to deliver the toughest sanctions so far.
Today, we are presenting our 6th package of sanctions. First, we are listing high-ranking military officers and individuals who committed war crimes in Bucha and those who are sends another important signal to all perpetrators of the Kremlin. We know who you are. We will hold you accountable. You're not getting away with this. Second, we finally de-SWIFT Sberbank. Sberbank is the largest Russian bank. It holds round about 37% of the whole banking sector. And we will also de-SWIFT two other major banks in Russia. By that, we hit banks that are systemically critical to the Russian financial system and Putin's ability to wage destruction. We're banning 3 big Russian state-owned broadcasters from our airwaves. They will not be allowed to distribute their content anymore in the European Union in whatever shape or form, be it on cable, via satellite, on the internet, or via smartphone apps. We have identified these TV channels as mouthpieces that amplify Putin's lies and propaganda aggressively. And we should not give them a stage anymore to spread these lies. We are addressing our dependency on Russian oil, and let's be clear, it will not be easy, because some member states are strongly dependent on Russian oil, but we simply have to do it. So today we will propose to ban all Russian oil from Europe. This will be
In the meantime, we understand a new attempt to evacuate residents from the southern port city of Mariupol and surrounding areas is currently taking place. The city has seen the heaviest fighting of the war so far, and a group of Ukrainian soldiers and hundreds of civilians are still trapped in the Azovstal steelworks plant. Regional Governor Pavlo Kyrylenko says a convoy of buses carrying civilians had set off for the city in Zaporizhzhia this morning and is not expected to include many people trapped in the steelworks. According to the city mayor, more than 30 children are awaiting evacuation from the plant, and heavy fighting is taking place there, though contact with Ukrainian fighters inside has been lost. The Kremlin denies that Russia is storming the steelworks after Ukraine accused Moscow of launching a powerful assault. Well, staying with restrictions on Russia, the UK has announced Russia has been banned from using British management, consulting, accounting and PR. Foreign Secretary Liz Truss says the ban will cut off service exports critical to the Russian economy, adding that it will help ensure the Russian president fails in Ukraine. Other sanctions among the 63 introduced today target Russian media organizations and those working for them. VOA's Anna Chennikova joins us now from Kyiv. Hello, Anna. Good to see you. I want to begin with the latest sanctions we've seen from the EU, and that especially, from the UK and especially from the EU, the ban, the phased oil embargo on Russia, sanctioning its top bank, broadcast. How much is this news to Ukrainians with regards to this latest measures? How are they receiving the news?
Hello. Finally, Ukrainians, we were waiting for this moment from the very beginning, because starting from the first day of war, Ukrainian President Zelensky and Ukrainian government asked the European Union to ban Russian oil. It was one of the main suggestions and one of the main ideas from the Ukrainian side, because Ukrainians clearly understand that this would actually help a lot, and this would play a very major role in Russian economy and in this war as a result. So this is a very great news for Ukrainians. We don't have yet official reaction, but it's coming in the evening in Mr. President's evening speech, as he does usually. So we're waiting, but I'm pretty sure it's a very positive result for Ukraine. And of course, Sberbank ban from SWIFT is also very crucial, which is definitely, I think that this 6 package is one of the strongest so far. Of course, we should consider it as a part of the packages, like a pack of packages, but this one is really, really positive for Ukraine.
And Anna, let's go over to the evacuation taking place in Mariupol. How many more days are left? Tell us about the situation there.
Very complicated, extremely complicated situation. And I should say that starting with evacuation a couple of days ago, so the first evacuation happened on the 1st of May. Today is day number 3. And unfortunately, I should say that we don't know yet, and there is no predictions of how long and how more days this would take place. According to what we know for the moment, that out of all the buses that were able to evacuate people, only 4 buses reached Ukrainian territory so far. I'm sorry, only 3 buses, which makes it 156 people. We don't know yet what's happening with other 11 buses. So what's the destiny of these people? According to officials from Mariupol, they are probably stuck at the filtration centers, so-called filtration centers, created by Russians and located in 4 spots of Mariupol. We all hope that these people would make it through and will come to Ukrainian controlled territory. In terms of today's evacuation, again, no information yet on when the bus would reach Ukrainian controlled side. So we're just hoping and waiting for people to come back. There are mostly women and children and old people on the buses. Also, we know about the evacuation with the first wave of evacuation, about the evacuation of 40 heavily injured soldiers. But this is what we know so far. In terms of situation at Azovstal, it's very dangerous at the moment. There are reports that apparently it was a breakthrough. So it was a second assault, heavy assault today on the Mariupol Azovstal plant. The first one happened yesterday. During the night, very heavy bombs were used to attack the plant. Also, I cannot kind of confirm 100%, but reportedly there were seen the thermatic warheads used to attack the plant. So today there were no connection with the Ukrainian soldiers who remain there, and we know that probably heavy battles are now happening on the territory of the plant. So this is what we know so far.
And one really begins to wonder how many more are left, and if indeed they will be able to leave. We understand that there were a number of protests with women holding up signs calling Ukrainian authorities to evacuate soldiers, their relatives and loved ones who are still trapped in Azovstal. And we also know that the evacuation is taking place with, Russian authorities, Ukraine, and also the International Red Cross.
Yes, so the evacuation is happening with UN and Red Cross representatives. It was confirmed by both sides, but unfortunately, what we see is that it doesn't go that smoothly as it could, because again, I would just repeat that 11 buses just disappeared and we don't know where they are at the moment. We know that from the very beginning, there were about 2,000 people at the plant. And we know that, and it was supposed to be 90 buses for evacuation. Only 14 buses were allowed. In terms of today's evacuation, we don't know yet how many buses were allowed. So I should say that what we know from the officials, that at least 200 people remain there, the civilians. In terms of the protest that you mentioned, I would not call it a protest. It was just a kind of, calling for help by the wives of the soldiers and by the relatives of the soldiers, because we know that some families, the wives with children and relatives of the soldiers, have been also evacuated from the plant, while their husbands remained there protecting the plant and fighting. Ukrainian authorities were asking for exchange and were asking for deblockade. So there are negotiations on that, but Russian side so far didn't even considered as what we know again officially to accept that. So for the moment, we don't have any hopes that Ukrainian soldiers could be just extracted, as it's called, extracted from the plant. We'll be waiting for additional news on that. I know that Ukrainian president is taking this as one of the priorities and put it on the international level of negotiations. But unfortunately, for the moment, Russian side didn't agree on that.
Let's move over to Donbass. Tell us a bit about the military status on the side of Ukraine and, of course, Russia. And we know that Russia is preparing for their May 9th Victory Day, isn't it?
Donbass remains one of the main, let's say, stage of this war, so of the battles at the moment. And we all understand that Russian soldiers, Russian side and government, they're trying to make a breakthrough as much as possible by May 9th, because they need certain certain so-called victory by the May 9th, as different kind of events are going to happen in Moscow. And as we know, also in Mariupol, Russians are preparing a military parade in Mariupol on May 9 as well. So what Ukrainian officials and intelligence is saying that escalation is going to happen soon again. So Russian forces are regrouping at the moment, and they would try to break through to reach the administrative borders of Donetsk and Luhansk region. However, Ukrainian soldiers had a very successful couple of days in the area, especially at Izum direction, because Izum, it is Kharkiv region city, but it's just on the border with Donetsk region. And this is the way actually to the administrative border. So one of the main battlefields is happening there right now. And Ukrainian soldiers destroyed hundreds of Russian soldiers just a couple of days before it was confirmed. And Ukrainian soldiers destroyed 2 commander centers. Reportedly, one general is a very important general is heavily damaged, injured, and another one could be dead. But again, there is no confirmation yet, but it was a very successful operation by Ukrainian soldiers, which stuck Russian forces a lot. So for the moment, we see the regrouping, and apparently we should expect escalation and provocations from Russian side, because again, I would repeat that they're trying to reach at least certain victory, so-called victory, by May 9th.
Anna, thank you so much. We continue to follow the developments. I'm sure the whole world is hoping that this invasion ends as quickly as possible. Thanks a lot, Anna.
Thank you.